you started taking classes at AFI after Brandeis?
Yeah.
You went to med school, you
No,
said, or you tried
I flunked out of pre-med
you flunked,
immediately.
okay.
I went straight from Brandeis to AFI. I graduated Brandeis in May, and I started at Greystone Mansion, which was a really fun place to go to school, which AFI isn't there anymore, but the Doheny Mansion, Beverly Hills. And I started there in September. And I produced a film with a second-year director, and then had this vision I would get out and become a producer immediately, and sent out the film that we had shot on 3/4-inch tapes to about, 200 people, and got 2 meetings. And neither one of those got me a job. One of them was with Mike Medavoy, who at the time was head of Orion Pictures, and I thought I got this amazing opportunity, and it was because he happened to know the chairman of the board of Brandeis, so he was doing it kind of as a favor, unbeknownst to me, to someone else. And when I got in, he said, pitch me something. And AFI had never discussed pitching. And the entire time I was at the American Film Institute, we had not discussed it. So, 10 years later, I ran into Jean Furstenberg, who was then running the American Film Institute. And she said, so how did your AFI education go for you? I said, it was great, except you got to tell these kids how to pitch. And she said, well, why don't you teach that? I started by teaching a couple of weekend seminars, and then they sent me around the country, and I taught the same seminar in about 10 different cities. And then eventually they put me on as an adjunct professor, and I've been teaching that course for about 22 years.
Once a week?
Once a week, I teach a course on pitching and developing for television. And no student graduates AFI now without knowing how to pitch.
So what did they implement into the curriculum aside from that? I mean, now because, film stock's no longer needed, really. I mean, it still looks beautiful, but DSLRs and all these other cameras are here.
Well, AFI's curriculum has changed very little, other than probably for the cinematography fellows. When I was there, it was just cinematographers, directors, writers, and producers. Now there's an editor fellowship, and there's a production design fellowship. Those are all since I was there. But the focus at AFI has always been learn by doing, and the story comes first. So we're all storytellers. We're all teaching storytelling. When I teach pitching, it's all about concept, character, and plot. So I don't think it's changed dramatically. The medium by which you deliver the story to the audience can change from 70 millimeter down to digital bits that are coming across YouTube. But in the end, if you don't have a good story to tell, it doesn't matter how gorgeous your film is or how many Academy Award-winning actors you have in it. If you don't have a good story to tell, it's not going to work. If it's not on the page, it's not on the stage. And so we still teach, how do you tell a good story? How do you move an audience? How do you make them laugh, them cry, them feel something, be scared? How do you do that? How do you do that with the medium of film and now with the medium of digital?
What do you think AFI offers that other colleges don't offer?
I think because AFI's mission statement is learn by doing, and because so much of the faculty is like myself, we're like paratrooper professors. We parachute in, we teach a class, we come from work, we talk about what's happening right now in the business, we bring with us guests that are working right now, and then we go back to our work. And so I think the advantage of having those kinds of professors, not someone retired who did it 5 years, 10 or 15 or 25 years ago, not someone who always wanted to teach but never had success in the business, but by having former fellows and people who admire the American Film Institute, who are still working, who come to the campus over there at Franklin and Western and teach what they're doing, and then the students go out and take those fundamental ideas and then go do it the next day in their cycle films and then thesis films, I think makes AFI different than everybody else and better.
What do you think the advantages are of taking courses there, or any college really, versus learning online, whether it's a masterclass of some sort or even just watching other YouTubers?
I think there is great value in doing around other people who have the same interests and desires that you have, and having a working faculty that can critique it on the fly. So you could do it online, but nobody's watching that, and nobody's staying next to you, and you're not having, again, movies are made by a village. So if you're not standing with a screenwriter and fighting with him over the scene, if you're not standing with the DP and fighting over the lighting, and if you're not standing with the editor in the editing room and fighting over a cut and when to go to the master and how long to stay in the close-up, you're not learning what it takes to forge a film, because that conflict is what makes great filmmaking. If it goes perfectly and everybody gets along and everybody just does what they're supposed to do, the movie will suck. You need that conflict. The movies are forged in that place where everyone's doing their job, but their job might necessarily be your job. And so the director has a job to do, which is to make great art and to tell his story. The producer has the job to tell that story, but deliver it to someone who's paying for it and get them what they want while still allowing the filmmaker to do what they want. And the editor wants to bring what they have to the table, and the screenwriter what they have to the table. And in that collective hurricane is where great movies are made, great television is made. And so I think you have to be in that. Not to mention that a rising tide lifts all boats. If you have a classmate who succeeds early, 2 or 3 years out, and brings you along, that's a really important thing that you don't get if you're going to a seminar or you're doing it online. And AFI fellows tend to help each other.